What if silence isn't surrender, but your greatest weapon? No last message, no long explanation, no passive-aggressive social posts, just complete withdrawal. Because you've realized something, you don't need to remind someone of your worth when they were too blind to see it in the first place. This isn't about revenge, it's about restoration. You were loyal. You were present. You gave her your full attention while she measured it like it was disposable. Now she faces a new version of you, one that doesn't announce his value, but disappears with it. And that disappearance, that's what breaks her more than any words ever could. Most people think silence means you're hurt, or that you're waiting, that you're hoping, but real silence, the kind built on self-respect, isn't fragile. It's focused. It's not the silence of weakness. It's the silence of a man who no longer hands out pieces of himself to people who play games. No arguments, no chasing, no trying to fix what's already broken. She expected you to react, to plead, to collapse. But you did the one thing she never saw coming. You vanished without drama. And that absence, that unknown, it forces her to sit with everything she never wanted to feel: regret, confusion, a guilt she can't explain, because deep down, she knows the man who once gave her everything has now given her nothing. No closure, no validation, no sign. And in that vacuum, her mind races. She wonders why you're not reaching out, why you're not checking in, why you've gone completely quiet. But you know the answer, because you're no longer fighting for someone who never showed up for you. You're not here to convince. You're not here to perform. You're here to rebuild. This isn't emptiness. It's presence redefined. It's the pressure that builds when a man stops explaining himself and starts acting like he never needed to in the first place. Let her wonder. Let her scroll. Let her feel the stillness you left behind. And if she crumbles under the weight of your silence, so be it. You didn't disappear out of spite. You disappeared for your peace. And sometimes, peace requires letting go without saying a single word. Number 1. The silence that screams. What shatters a person isn't shouting. It's not desperate texting. It's not emotional breakdowns at midnight. It's the silence. Unshaken, uninterrupted, undeniable, not the kind that waits for a reply. Not the kind that secretly hopes for a reaction, but the kind that says, you no longer have access. That's the silence that burns, deeper than any insult. You didn't slam doors. You didn't argue. You didn't try to prove your pain. You simply vanished. And in that stillness, she hears everything. Because silence isn't empty. It's full of meaning. And the longer it lasts, the heavier it becomes. See, when she backed away, she didn't expect to lose control. She expected drama. She expected you to chase. She expected those predictable messages that would remind her she still mattered. Because even when they hurt you, many women subconsciously expect to be the center of your response. They want to know. They still occupy space in your head. It feeds the ego. It confirms her power. It tells her, he's still mine, even if I pushed him away. But then, you went silent. No reaction, no messages, no breadcrumbs to follow. Now, her world starts spinning, not because you yelled, but because you didn't. She replays conversations in her head. She second-guesses herself. She wonders, why isn't he trying to fix this? Did he stop caring? Is it really over? That uncertainty, that's the consequence of your silence. Because silence doesn't give ego a place to rest. It gives her anxiety. It gives her guilt, it gives her doubt, and doubt turns into tension. Tension turns into pressure, and pressure leads to regret. But here's the truth. You don't go silent to punish her. You go silent to reclaim yourself. You stop talking because there's nothing left to explain. You stop showing up because she stopped appreciating it. You stop giving energy because she treated your presence like a guarantee. You didn't disappear to hurt her. You disappeared because you finally saw what she ignored. Silence isn't absence. It's presence with boundaries. It's the message that says, my peace matters more than being understood. And that message doesn't need to be typed or spoken or shouted. It just needs space, time, stillness. So let her feel that space. Let her walk through the quiet you left behind. Let her realize that every moment of your silence is louder than any words she ever ignored. Number 2, stop replaying the past. The moment she left, your mind hit replay. Every laugh, every lie, every moment you thought meant more than it did. You've been stuck in that loop, replaying scenes from a story that already ended. You pause, rewind, dissect, trying to find the line where everything shifted, trying to make sense of the moment. She stopped being who you thought she was. But here's the truth. Most men avoid. The past doesn't heal you. It haunts you. And the longer you stay there, the more power you give to someone who's no longer beside you. That's not closure. That's slow self-destruction. Stoicism teaches this. What's done is done. You don't argue with reality. You respond to it. You keep hoping if you dig far enough, you'll find the reason, the moment, the answer. But peace doesn't come from unraveling the past. It comes from no longer needing it explained. You're not seeking understanding. You're seeking control over something long gone. And every time you dive back into old memories, you keep yourself chained to someone who already set themselves free. She's not reliving those arguments. She's not lying awake wondering if she was wrong. You are, because you refuse to let the movie stop playing. Let me be blunt. Your heart doesn't need more reflection. It needs motion. It needs boundaries. It needs you to stop handing your energy to ghosts. You want to heal. Stop asking why she changed. Start asking why you stayed when she did. The man who wins isn't the one who gets answers. He's the one who no longer needs them. Each time you resist the urge to replay that scene, you sharpen your grip on the present. You reclaim your time, your clarity, your direction. You stop leaking your power into what's already dead. The Stoic doesn't beg for meaning from the past. He builds meaning in the now, brick by brick, step by step. He becomes the man who doesn't flinch at unanswered questions. Because truth is, she's not in your tomorrow, and your tomorrow doesn't need to carry her shadow. So stop the projector, close the chapter, let the film decay. Her story ended. Yours has just begun. Number 3, you are not her savior. You were never sent to rescue her. That's not your role, not your burden, not your mission. You are not her emotional life raft, not her unpaid counselor, not her last shot at peace. You were her man, and she let you go. But here you are, still building fantasies in your head, still believing that if you love her enough, she'll finally change. She won't. And the painful truth is, this isn't about helping her. It's about proving you were enough to fix someone broken. That's not love. That's ego, hiding in armor, because love doesn't require you to bleed. It doesn't demand that you carry what she refuses to face. And every time you try to repair her chaos, you break yourself a little more. Listen, she had her chance. She showed you who she was, not once, repeatedly, but instead of healing her wounds, she handed them to you like they were yours to solve. And because you cared, you tried, you bled, you sacrificed. But here's where that ends. You're not her hero. You're not her safety net. And the more you try to save her, the deeper you sink into the mess she created. That's not strength. That's slow self-erasure. Real strength. It's in knowing when to let go, when to step back and say, this isn't mine to carry. True power isn't in rescuing others. It's in rescuing yourself from the need to be the rescuer. She needs to face her own patterns, her own wreckage, her own choices. And if she can't handle them, that's her fire to walk through, not yours to extinguish. Stoicism isn't about fixing people. It's about mastering yourself, controlling what you can, letting go of what you can't. And what you can't do is force healing on someone who's addicted to pain. So stop pouring your energy into a void. Start investing it where it matters. In your mind, your mission, your rebuild. You're not her foundation. You're not her father. She cut the rope. Let her swim alone. Number 4. Your value didn't die with her love. She stopped loving you, and maybe that hit you like a punch to the chest. But don't confuse her absence with your absence of worth. A woman walking away doesn't erase the man. It reveals the weight you gave her opinion. Too many men hand over their self-worth like a fragile package, waiting for a woman to either protect it or shatter it. But here's the truth. Your value didn't begin with her affection, and it sure as hell doesn't end with her departure. She saw what she wanted to see, not the full depth, not the man in the making, just the parts that made her feel good at the time. When she left, she didn't take your worth. She simply lost her access to it. But the damage happens when you start believing her rejection is a reflection of your value. That's when the poison sets in. That's when self-doubt creeps in, turning strength into neediness, dignity into begging, purpose into obsession. Don't fall into that trap. She didn't define you. She exposed where you still need to heal. She highlighted where you were, leaning on her love. Instead of standing on your own strength, take that pain and build with it. This is your invitation to reconstruct, not for her, not for revenge, but for restoration. Because real power isn't about being wanted. It's about being unshakable whether you're wanted or not. When your value comes from purpose instead of praise, you stop chasing closure. You stop hoping for a return. You simply evolve. And make no mistake, you didn't lose her. She lost a man who would have gone all in. That's her regret to live with, not your burden to carry. Your lesson isn't about fixing the past. It's about never again placing your worth in hands that can't hold it. You were always enough. She just couldn't see it. And that doesn't make you smaller. It just proves her vision was never big enough. Number 5. Attraction through indifference. You want her to feel it, to genuinely feel your absence, not your performance. Then stop pretending you don't care. Actually stop caring. That doesn't mean hate. It doesn't mean bitterness. It means detachment, the kind that says, I'm no longer orbiting your attention, your moods, or your validation. That's when you become powerful. Because here's what no one tells you. The strongest pull isn't when you chase her. It's when she realizes she's lost access to a man she thought would always be available. See, most men leave. The door cracked open. One last reply. One vague story posted, hoping she watches, quote, that's not power. That's disguised desperation. And women smell that miles away. Real indifference is when she goes to check on you, and there's nothing to check. No posts for her to decode, no reaction, just quiet. Progress. You're not making noise, you're making moves. She doesn't see breadcrumbs. She sees a man walking forward without looking back. That's what makes her uneasy. Not your silence, but your peace inside the silence. You don't post for her. You post because you're living. You're not baiting her with mystery. You are the mystery. That's the shift. You're not waiting. You're not hoping. You're building, and when she senses she's no longer the center of your attention, the gravity reverses. Her mind starts spinning. Where did your energy go? Why aren't you chasing anymore? And in that confusion, attraction starts to grow, but it only lasts if you stay grounded. The moment you break, send a text, react to her story. Like a post, you've broken the spell. You've said, I'm still here. Waiting. That calms her anxiety. She'll relax because you're still accessible. You want real power. Take away the access. Let the door close without slamming it. No explanation, no warning, just stillness. Indifference isn't cruelty. It's clarity. It's choosing self-respect over performance. It's saying, I'm not your emotional entertainer. You chose absence. Now you can live in it. That's when she finally feels it. Not because you pushed her, but because you stood still while everything else kept moving. Number 6, emotional mastery is power. Every emotional outburst is like handing someone the remote to your mind. Each time you react, whether it's a message you regret, a loud argument, or a desperate post you're giving away, control. And in any dynamic, the one who holds emotional control holds the frame. He sets the tone. He leads the dance. That's why Stoicism doesn't teach you to become numb. It teaches you to become anchored. When storms come, you don't break. You stand still, centered, because when she hurt you, she expected fireworks, tears, anger, maybe a late-night message you'd hate yourself for in the morning. But when you don't react, when your silence holds steady, she starts wondering, wait, doesn't he care? Why isn't he broken? Why does he look more focused than ever? That silence, it's loud because she knows you felt deeply, but now you've chosen discipline over drama. And that shift, it unnerves her because it rewrites the power balance. You're no longer orbiting around her mood. You've stepped into your own gravity. But let's be real. You don't reach this level by pretending. You don't fake calm. You build it every day, like muscle. You stop reacting to bait. You don't stalk her stories. You don't vent online. You don't pour your pain into late-night texts. You breathe, you reflect, and you move in silence. That's control. That's rare, because in a world where most men spiral, you become the exception. You rise instead of crumble. You sharpen instead of sink. And that's what she didn't see coming. You took the pain she gave you and turned it into fuel. You didn't chain yourself to heartbreak. You turned it into focus, direction, presence. When your emotions stop controlling your moves, you begin building from solid ground. And from that ground, you choose better. You attract better. You command better. The man who doesn't break under pressure becomes the man. People notice in silence. That's not just emotional mastery. That's unshakable power. Number 7, rebuild in the shadows. They think you're gone, but you're not gone. You're just hidden working, not vanishing in weakness, but disappearing into discipline. While she's out showing the world how unbothered she is, you're becoming the man she never saw coming. No cryptic quotes, no thirst traps, no need for validation, just silence and momentum. This is the part most men screw up. They rush to show their progress, gym selfies, new outfits, fake confidence wrapped in Instagram filters. But that's not strength. That's noise. That's desperation dressed up as self-improvement. Real power doesn't broadcast. It builds brick by brick. In private, no applause, no spotlight, because you're not rebuilding for her. You're rebuilding for you. You hit the gym not for abs, but for control. You grind not to impress, but to reclaim your mission. You read, write, breathe discipline not to prove anything, but to remember who the hell you are. This is what Stoicism is made of. You don't perform, you evolve. And when you're done, when the work is done quietly in the shadows, you won't need to tell the world who you've become. The room will shift when you walk back in. And here's what stings her the most. She doesn't even recognize you anymore. Not because you became someone else, but because you finally became who you were, always meant to be. No more chasing, no more begging, no more proving your worth to someone who couldn't hold it. And right when you stop needing her to notice, she does. That's when her stomach turns. That's when the guilt sets in. Not because you disappeared, but because you rose. And she wasn't part of the story anymore. But here's the truth. You're not rising to haunt her. You're rising because staying broken was never an option. You rebuild not to win her back, but to never lose yourself again. That's the win. That's the flex. The man who went dark and returned unshakable. Number 8. Make her face the echo. You want to know what real regret sounds like. It sounds like silence. Not peaceful silence, but the loud, hollow kind that haunts someone who expected attention and got nothing. She opens her phone. No messages. Checks her notifications. Nothing. Watches her own stories, hoping you saw them. But you didn't. And that space where your presence used to be, now it echoes, louder than any words you could have said, because now she's alone with herself, and no distraction can drown out the guilt. She walked away, expecting drama. She was prepared for fireworks, a meltdown, a long text, a voicemail, a desperate attempt to fix it. She thought you'd play that part, but instead you vanished. No closure, no chase, just the sound of your silence, forcing her to sit with every single decision she made. That's the beauty of emotional control. When you stop responding, she starts reflecting. When you stop explaining, she starts questioning. And when the silence stretches long enough, it stops being silence. It becomes weight. It becomes memory. She replays the last thing you said, reads old messages like scripture, wondering what she missed, watches your absence, outgrow her expectations. She compares you to the new guy, but the new guy doesn't move like you. He doesn't have your calm, your depth, your edge. Because here's the thing, you're not performing anymore. You're not posting to be seen. You're not orbiting her attention. You're not waiting to be picked. You already picked yourself, and that is what keeps her up at night. It's not the distance. It's not the breakup. It's that she has no access to you anymore. No emotional doorway left open, just a closed door and a heavy, undeniable truth whispering back every time she reaches for what's gone. You walked away with dignity. She lost something real. Let her feel that. Don't chase. Don't text. Don't save her from the silence. Let the echo grow. Let it teach her what attention never could. And when the guilt turns into regret, and the regret into reflection, let her face it alone. Number 9. They always circle back. You thought she was gone for good. She looked happy, unbothered, like you were just a chapter. She closed without flinching. And you stayed in the shadows, grinding, bleeding in silence, trying to stitch together the version of yourself she never believed in. But here's the truth. They always circle back. Not always with a grand gesture. Sometimes it's subtle. A story view, a random like, a "hey, how've you been?" that shows up just when your scars start to fade. And make no mistake, it's not love. It's not a change of heart. It's curiosity. It's regret. It's the echo of your silence bouncing around in her mind, louder than any words you ever said, because she expected you to fall apart, to text, to beg, to unravel in full display. But you didn't. You went quiet. You went deep. You went within. And that silence, it became your power. You didn't need to post gym pics to prove progress. You didn't need to flex new clothes or fake smiles. You just disappeared into growth. She doesn't remember the arguments, not the tears, not the late-night fights. She remembers how you made her feel. Safe, valued, real. And that memory stings now that she's surrounded by men who can't see her the way you did. Men who lack your energy, your depth, your loyalty. She thought she was upgrading, but the grass turned out to be fake turf. Now she scrolls, searching for traces of you, and finds nothing. No breadcrumbs, no signal, just a man who's not waiting anymore. That's what shakes her. You didn't get bitter. You got better. And while she's trying to see if the door's still cracked open, you've already locked it from the inside. Not out of hate, but out of peace. You've moved from wanting her back to understanding you don't need what left you confused. So when she circles back, and trust me, she will, you won't need closure. You won't need revenge. Your glow-up was the message. Your distance was the lesson. And your silence. That's what echoes forever. Because when a man stops chasing and starts choosing himself, the whole game changes. Number 10. You never needed closure. Let's cut through the illusion. Closure isn't real. It's just another story we tell ourselves to avoid the hard truth. You don't need a final conversation. You don't need an apology. You don't need her to explain why she left. Because deep down, you already know. She chose herself. That was the answer. That was the closure. Everything else you crave. Her reasons, her regret, her clarity that's not closure. That's your pain, looking for permission to let go. But here's the truth. Most men avoid. You don't need permission to move on. You just need a decision. See, waiting for closure keeps you tethered. It's emotional quicksand. The more you wait, the deeper you sink. You think if she just said something, anything, you'd finally be free. But would you? Would the facts change? Would the betrayal suddenly make sense? No, it would only reopen the wound you've been trying to close. That's the trap. Closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you create. It's a line in the sand that says, this ends here. And that's what Stoicism teaches you. To stop searching outward and start looking inward. Her silence, that's closure. Her walking away without explanation, that's the loudest closure there is. Your job is not to decode her choices. Your job is to accept what happened without begging for an ending that soothes your ego. The truth is, not every broken thing needs fixing. Not every goodbye needs a final bow, and not everyone who hurt you will come back to make it right. And that's okay, because your healing isn't in her hands anymore. It's in yours. Every time you choose to stay silent, every time you resist the urge to reach out, every time you choose growth over drama, you're writing your own ending. You become the author, the director, the main character, and the next chapter. It's not about her. It's about you, rebuilt, refocused, unstoppable. You didn't just finish watching this video. You made it through something deeper. The silence, the heartbreak, the confusion that tried to convince you that you were broken, but you're still here, still standing, stronger, colder, clearer. This wasn't about revenge. This wasn't about hating her. It was about reclaiming your center. While she's out there scrolling, posting, wondering, you've been building quietly, disciplined, deliberate. You didn't scream. You didn't beg. You let your silence carry the weight of truth. That's power. That's your real voice. Because when she finally feels the absence and the guilt begins to echo, you won't be there to soften the blow. You'll already be gone. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. This is what Stoicism teaches. Power through restraint, healing without noise, growth without validation. So now you become the reminder for someone else. There's a man out there stuck in the same spiral you were in. Send this to him. Be his mirror. Be the proof. And if you're done waiting, if you've drawn the line and you're walking forward, then hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below. She lost me the moment I found myself. This isn't the end. This is the rebirth. And it started the second you chose yourself.